All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending. So what we're going to be talking about in this webinar is we're going to be learning a little bit more about SOLIDWORKS Inspection and see some of the capabilities that it has, but at the same time, we're also going to see different workflows that it can perform, and in the process, it's going to be able to streamline and help improve our quality control documentation. So with that, introduce myself. So my name is James Reher. I'm an application engineer with Fisher Unitech. I've been using SOLIDWORKS over 12 years now, and you can see I have a number of certifications in different portions of the SOLIDWORKS platform. My background before I became an application engineer here was in product development, and I've worked in the industrial valve and fitting industry. I've also worked in biomedical devices and LED lighting. Now, just a brief high-level agenda for what we're going to be going over today. We're going to define what SOLIDWORKS Inspection is for those of you who aren't really familiar with it. We're going to talk about its intended purpose. We're going to talk about some of the common manufacturing challenges that many of you probably run into on a day-to-day basis. We're also going to be talking about I'm going to be showing you a high-level example and some of the benefits from it, and then after that, I'm going to get into some more detailed product examples, capabilities, and workflows. With that, we'll just have a little summary, and I'll leave it open to some questions. All right, so to start off, what is SOLIDWORKS Inspection? SOLIDWORKS Inspection is a software tool that actually automates the ballooning of engineering drawings, and it also creates inspection reports. So things like first article inspection, PPAP, that sort of thing. It actually automates that process. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at that in just a moment. Now, with that, in a little bit more detail. So it's going to be able to cover your first article inspection reports, just general inspection reports. Like I mentioned, balloon drawings, PPAP, another common inspection reporting standard is going to be AS 9102. You're also going to be able to make reports for in-process, final, and incoming inspection, and you'll also be able to record measurements with it. Now let's talk about some of the manufacturing challenges that many of you run into. So when it comes to quality control, generally how everyone is performing this task right now is manually. So they're manually ballooning an engineering drawing. Then you're going to generate a report from that, and literally you're just going to transpose all of the data for those balloons into an Excel spreadsheet, and you're going to perform this manually. So you're going to bring over the nominal dimension, then they're going to have to calculate the tolerance dimensions for what's in and out of spec. It's pretty laborious. Now, because of that, you're going to also be error prone from duplicate data entry. We all know that it's slow, it's time consuming, and on top of that, there's no parametric association between any of the files. So your dimensional tolerance changes in your CAD data if you go from Rev A to Rev B. Well, they're not associated with your current inspection documentation. And we're going to see that SOLIDWORKS Inspection addresses this in most cases. Now here's just a high-level example. This is the traditional workflow. We're going to start with our engineering print here. Then we're going to actually manually add these balloons. Now you could technically add these directly in SOLIDWORKS manually. It still takes a little bit of time. I know plenty of my customers that are still doing this by hand, so they're just printing out the drawing, literally, taking a red pencil or marker, drawing all those balloons on, and then they're scanning it and making a PDF copy of the balloon drawing before they go ahead and make their inspection report. So once you have your balloon drawing, you're going to do exactly like I mentioned. You're going to transpose the balloons over into some sort of spreadsheet. You got to bring over those nominal dimensions, and then you're going to have to calculate those upper and lower limits, right? Now let's take a look at an example in action. So we're going to see this is an example that's been sped up quite a bit just so we can get through it. And we're going to find out at the end that it's pretty time consuming to do this all manually. Luckily, Steve Fick was a good sport, and we promised that we'd feed him plenty of caffeine to get him through this. You'll see that in just a moment. But you can see that this is really time consuming. You know, he's manually going through this process. It's tedious. There's a lot of, you know, possibility for errors. We're going to see just how easy it is to avoid all this with SOLIDWORKS Inspection. Now that was a relatively simple print, and it still took him a while to do that. So even with a relatively simple print and him being really diligent, that still took about 55 minutes to perform. Now with SOLIDWORKS Inspection, now this is going to go by real fast because it is very quick. You're going to just say new inspection project. You're going to pick out the custom property data that you want to include, part number, part name, part revision, etc. You're going to click the check mark, and based on the template that you selected, it's going to go ahead and start auto ballooning. So at that point, we have our balloon drawing. Now we just need to export a report. So we select export to Excel, and just like that, here we go. We now have our report. So everything has been, what we were normally doing manually, bringing over all the data, transposing all the nominal dimensions, calculating the tolerances, etc. That's all been handled for us. So that was our high-level example, and just from that, we should have a good feel for what SOLIDWORKS Inspection is going to be able to do for us. And we're going to see, you know, we just saw it. So it created that inspection report in minutes instead of close to an hour. It eliminated most of the errors and inconsistencies because, you know, we took ourselves out of the equation essentially. So, you know, you eliminated the duplicate data entry. It's going to improve your time to market, and it's integrated directly inside SOLIDWORKS. Now, let's take a look at some of the flavors that SOLIDWORKS Inspection comes in. So it comes in two. So it comes in SOLIDWORKS Inspection Standard and SOLIDWORKS Inspection Professional. Now, both of these, I want you guys to take notice of this. Notice right here where it says standalone and add-in. So how the software works is there's actually an add-in that goes directly inside SOLIDWORKS, which we just saw. There's also a standalone portion of the software. So that portion is generally used for PDFs or TIFF files, and it can also be used with DWGs, Creo files, CATIA files, and 3D XML. And we'll see some examples of that in just a few minutes. Now, with that standalone unit, it does also come with advanced OCR. We'll see how that works. So what that means is you can actually bring in a PDF document, and it's actually going to use optical character recognition to be able to look at that data and then convert it into an actual value that goes into the report. We saw the automatic ballooning. Both versions of SOLIDWORKS Inspection come with the automatic ballooning, reporting, and you saw that you can export to PDF and Excel. So both versions of the software have all those capabilities. Now, where the big differentiator is when we get to down here. So here's where SOLIDWORKS Inspection Professional shines, is it allows you to actually measure and input your data directly into the report. You can also import CMM data. So for those of you that are using CMMs, you can actually run the CMM, have it, you know, pull off all that data, and then just import it into your report. And you're going to do it directly inside the SOLIDWORKS Inspection standalone software. We're also going to see that it shows us automatic verification and color-coded results. So just some really nice enhancements for those of you that are doing a lot of inspection. All right, so let's see this stuff in a little bit more detail. Let's take a look at what other capabilities it has, what other workflows. So we're going to start off. I'm going to be pausing this a little bit. Just wanted to go through one more example inside the SOLIDWORKS add-in. So right there, we saw that they had picked a template. So you're going to pick your template. You're going to bring in the character information that you want for your part name, part number, etc., etc. Let's pause that for a second. Let's take a look on the left-hand side over here. You can see there's a part name, part number, part rev, doc name. We can even include information such as vendor, job number. We can see the character info here. You can sort it clockwise. You can set your classification. You can also do counterclockwise. You can set the way you want this to extract. So if you need to, for any reason, do it manually, you can. And you can see that here's the auto balloon option, and you can also choose prevent automatic renumbering, which personally I always have turned off. It's really nice to be able to just renumber in case you forgot something or needed to make a change. All right, let's let it play a little bit further. We're going to, at this point, choose our extraction settings. Okay, so this is just letting you choose reference, basic, secondary units, etc. Notes. So how your notes are going to be brought in. This particular one only has a single note, but you can control how those notes are put into the report. And then you can have GD&T, hole callouts, welds, and surface finishes. You also can choose what type of range you want for the tolerancing. Now, all of that stuff can be controlled and changed via your templates. That was just one particular template that we saw there. You can have as many as you want, and they're all customizable. Now, SOLIDWORKS does come preloaded with a number of them, just so you're aware. You saw that exported as a report. Now, here's another workflow using the SOLIDWORKS Inspection add-in. So this is for those of you that have gone away from engineering drawings or 2D engineering drawings, if you will. And many customers are now transitioning over to putting everything directly into the 3D model and assembly files. And so they're keeping all of their product manufacturing information or PMI data directly in here. And we can see they have their dimensions, they have their GD&T, everything's included in there. If you look on the left-hand side, you can see here's the SOLIDWORKS inspection information. And you can kind of make out some of these balloons that are in there. This will be a better angle. But you see that you can go ahead and generate those auto ballooning directly inside your model, and you have the exact same options that you did inside your drawing with one additional one, which would be export to 3D PDF. But we can export to a 2D PDF for the ballooning. We can export any of our reports that we would like for the inspection, and you have your 3D PDF option, and you even have an option to export to e-drawings. Now we're going to start talking about the standalone software here. So the standalone portion of the software, you can actually import in PDF, TIFF, DWG, Creo, CATIA, and 3D XML file formats. So in our example here, we've imported a PDF file, and we're going to get to see some of that optical character recognition that I mentioned before. So what's going to happen now is they're going to just box select some data here. So we're going to take the title of that part, the angle brace, and it's going to be the part name. And we're going to just do the exact same thing a few more times. We're going to do the same sort of thing for our optical character recognition onto our dimensions. So you see these little boxes right here with the numbers. So as we were selecting them, it's going to go ahead and use the OCR to convert that, and it's going to make a line item for our report, and then it's going to go ahead and balloon as we go. Here's our report. We can also, let's go back for a second. Sorry about that. Scan ahead. Give me one moment. Let's see, I think I may have broken PowerPoint. Sorry about the technical difficulty, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and kill it, restart it. Bear with me. Sorry, everyone. All right. This will be a good opportunity because this does go by real fast. I'll try and catch it for the OCR on the dimensions. And the button is not working. That's awesome. All right. Just going to push forward. So there's your report. You can also replace the drawing. So if you could send a PDF revision, let's say you're going from Rev A to Rev B, you can actually just go ahead and bring that in, and you don't have to redo the OCR portion of the work. Here's your supported file types that we discussed just a minute ago. Now here's a different file type. This is a DWG, and it's going to use something else instead of OCR to bring in the dimensions. So this is called the Smart Extract tool from inside in the inspection software. And as you can see, you can just select the dimensions or box select them, and it's going to go ahead and extract that data into the report and balloon it. Now the same thing can be done to Creo and PTC files and 3D XML files. So even if you have that PMI data directly inside a part or a model, you're going to be able to go ahead and just use that Smart Extract to pull out those dimensions for the ballooning. Now for this portion, we're going to start talking about some of the SOLIDWORKS Inspection Professional tools. So everything we just saw is included in the SOLIDWORKS Inspection Standard version of the software. What we're going to see here is we're going to see some of the capabilities that are inside Professional. Actually, I take that back. Not yet. My mistake. This right here, we just wanted to point out, Net Inspect and Quality Expert. If any of you are, working for your quality department, it's probably likely that you have to send a lot of this data to the cloud. Well, Net Inspect and Quality Expert are both tied in directly into the SOLIDWORKS inspection platform. Just wanted to point that out. And I thought I killed the audio there. So I'll let David do this. All right. So you got to see a quick example of those capabilities with the professional software. So you can import the CMM data. You can use a caliper directly. So if you're using a pair of digital calipers with a foot switch and pulling the measurements off your part, you can bring it in that way as well. And you saw that it highlights and color codes the results, so you can see if something's in or out of tolerance or maybe on the border. Now, with what you've seen, it's pretty obvious it's going to streamline your process immensely. So you're going to have huge time savings, which of course leads to a cost savings. You're going to get to reduce errors. You're going to improve your quality control system. So those are all just some of the benefits that you're going to get with quality inspection. So if you have to generate a lot of these engineering balloon drawings, or you're generating inspection reports, this is going to make your life a lot easier.